All right, all right. We are now live, family. Thank you to everybody in the chat for waiting, being patient. A lot of people are excited about this show. They want to hear what the brother right next to me on the right of me has to say about this topic matter. So we're gonna, as usual, family, we're gonna get to a quick commercial. I want you to get comfortable. We'll be here for about an hour tonight, a little over an hour. Tell your friends and family that we are live, and that we're speaking on a very important topic. So get comfortable. We'll be right back, and I'm gonna introduce my guest in about 1 minute, family. All right.
Started out with nothing. Now I got a whole lot of something. Breaking through the roof. Willie Walker when he pressed the button. When I do a money ritual, all of a sudden money started coming. Then I cut the Holy Ghost. I still be rhyming even when I'm mumbling. You repeat my name 3 times. While you staring in the mirror, bottle will appear like poof. I came from out of thin air. To me the gun is like a magic wand. I make a problem disappear. I would knock a nigga teeth out his mouth. What? Just to turn him to veneer. I can do magic, I can do magic. 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 When I open up my mouth, I can move masses. Black magic on the beat, turn it to a classic. I'ma take the money out the bank, then I'ma put it in the mattress. So me the niggas got.
All right, family, and we are here. Without further ado, I want to welcome back to the platform, Student Minister Dr. Wesley Muhammad. Welcome back, my brother.
I appreciate it, Brother Rich. Enjoyed very much our last conversation. I told you then, I will repeat, how you use your very influential platform is very commendable. I salute
Thank you, my brother.
I pray Allah He continues to bless you with success. You do host very unique, eccentric, awesome conversations.
Thank you, brother. Thank you.
Hey, there's nothing normative or orthodox, if you will, about the conversations you host, and that's very, very commendable.
Indeed. Thank you, brother. Somebody in the chat said, are you taking questions? Yeah, I'm going to take some questions a little later on. Post the questions in the chat. I know a lot of y'all want to ask Wesley questions. I'll make sure I save the questions. So just post it in the chat as he's talking. And later on, probably about at the 35-minute mark, 40, something like that, I'll start getting into some of your questions. But I know a lot of y'all got questions for the brother. But let's get this show started, family. To start out with, the name of the show, I mean, this is a hell of a name. A lot of people like, whoa, when they seen this title. Black Muslim Gods on the Moon, NASA's Darkest Secret. Now, this title was taken straight from your Instagram. This is an actual book that you recently written, right?
This is a report.
A report.
That I recently have written. It's available. You can go to my Instagram page, and there's instructions on how to get your copy of a 33-page report entitled Black Muslim Gods on the Moon, NASA's Darkest Secret. Now, this report is based on comments I gave when I spoke at our national headquarters, Mas Mariam, September 4th. Mm-hmm. I mentioned these particular facts during the lecture, and of course, I never like to put stuff out there without providing the sources,
right.
document. And in this particular case, there were some who said, Brother Dr. Wesley is lying about what he said. And so, of course, I don't take such charges lightly. I don't take them lying down either. So reproduce a 33-page report documenting the reality of what we said at Mas Mariam.
Indeed. I already see some questions. I got y'all. Don't worry, I got y'all. I'm gonna make sure I support you tonight. I'm gonna buy that tonight. I'm gonna go on your Instagram and I'm gonna go to Cash App to get the information. I'm gonna make sure I'll get that tonight, Dr. Wesley.
You can just send $10 Cash App to $ Dr. Wesley or PayPal it, but you will get a PDF copy of the 33-page report. Include, family, your email address so I can send it to you. If you don't leave or drop your email, I have no place to send it. So $10 and your email address to Cash App $Dr. Wesley.
All right. I got that on. I got the Cash App on the screen, family. I want to start out like this, Dr. Wesley. So when we talk about the moon, I mean, you could go in so many different places. How I want to start this conversation out is I would like to know what the most honorable Elijah Muhammad said about the moon, because from what I know, from what I remember here, talking to so many brothers, he said that the moon used to be a part of the earth, and there was a big explosion that took place, and it blew a part of the moon off and stuff. So I need to, before we even go into all of this with the black moon, I need to know the history of the moon according to the Nation of Islam.
Thank you. That is a proper place to start, because when we start with what the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad said of a matter, we are starting with truth. We will go from there and show that the science does not contradict the revelation. The science now available confirms what the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad taught. Indeed, he taught us that originally Earth was much bigger than it is now. It currently, Earth has a circumference of approximately 25,000 square miles. It had originally a circumference of about 35,000 square miles. It was a much bigger planet. The moon didn't exist. We had a satellite. There's evidence that this suggests that Mars served at that time the same purpose that the moon serves today. But the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad said this, on this original earth, the black man, this was the black man's earth then, as it's the black man's earth now. We populated that proto-earth, if you will, for one of our gods. I'm not going to get into all of that. He had an idea, but the long and short of it is he drilled a shaft, Brother Rich, 3,000 miles into the earth and filled it with explosives. Set off an explosion. This explosion shot a portion of the earth's material into space, shot it about 35 miles up, blasted a portion of the proto-earth about 35,000 miles up. The original earth fell into a new pocket. It dropped 62,000 miles into a new pocket. Now, the blast that the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad teaches us is the source of the earth as we know it today, and as the moon that is up in space. That is absolutely validated by the science. We now know, Brother, while there are several theories regarding the origin of the moon, that it fissioned off. One theory is that it fissioned off when the earth was in the embryonic stage and it's spinning through some of its non-hardened material off that hardened into the moon. We're not going to go through all of the theories. The most solid scientific theory, and we've documented that, all of that evidence in our book, the Book of God, an encyclopedia of proof that the black man is God. The most scientifically sound understanding of the origin of the moon is that the moon originated from a Big Bang event that occurred in the earth. The earth had its own Big Bang event. And scientists suggest that the explosion that ruptured the earth in two shot material that originally was in the area of the Pacific Basin today. That the Pacific Basin was the source of material that was blasted into space as a result of this primordial explosion event, or terrestrial Big Bang is what they call it. The scar of that original explosion, they say, is the Pacific Ocean. That blast sent proto-lunar material into space that over time evolved into the moon that we have. One more point. There was evidence throughout the solar system, Brother Rich, of this terrestrial Big Bang, this primordial explosion event. There is black debris scattered throughout the solar system that has the signature of an explosion. The black debris that coats certain atmosphereless bodies in the solar system, like the moon of Saturn, it's coated on one side by black debris that is evidence of a massive nuclear explosion. Mars, which has a black civilization on it. But Mars was, according to what we know now, was one of the first victims of that explosion. Mars has signatures of being impacted by a nuclear explosion. The dynamite or the explosives that were used to split the earth was much more powerful than anything America has. America has nuclear bombs now, but we had nuclear explosives a long time ago. This is what the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad teaches us of the origin of the moon, and science bears him witness.
Did the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad ever talk about the moon and its effect on, let's say, the woman, their periods, people's moon, the full moon? They say that's when people are lunatics. Did he ever talk about that? The moon and its connection to how we behave down here on Earth?
Not in the sense as is popular with astrology.
Okay.
Modern astrology.
Mm-hmm.
The Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad in today, representing him, the Honorable Brother Minister Farrakhan, teaches us the significance of the solar bodies. Mm-hmm. In fact, the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad teaches us that the original man is able to write history 25,000 years in advance, prophecy, and this history coincides with solar events, the movements of the solar bodies. Mm-hmm. So astronomy is a science that is at the root of Islam. Western astrology, from the teachers of the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, Brother Rich, is an excessive exaggeration of a real science. Mm-hmm. The cycle, the woman's cycle, he teaches us it does correspond with the cycle of the moon, but I would not go too far in elaborating on that correspondence. I have not heard him go far in elaborating on that correspondence. So we know as above, so below. We do know that there is interconnections between the solar system up there and the solar system on Earth. We know that. But we do stay away, I have to tell you. We stay away from the merchandised, popularized astrology. I know a lot of our people are into those concepts. And we believe that that it's rooted in truth, but we think it goes far, far astray, Brother Rich.
Okay, all right. So before we get into the Black Muslim gods and Neil Armstrong and that stuff, one more question about the moon and the Nation of Islam. Let me put this on the screen. I'm trying to figure out what is the significance, Dr. Wesley Muhammad, with the white crescent moon on the flag of the Nation of Islam. You know, the moon has many phases. Why did the Nation of Islam choose this in particular?
Very specifically, everything about that flag was chosen by God, Allah, in the person of Master Fard Muhammad, was chosen very specifically. This flag represents the universe, the sun, the moon, and the star. That's the solar system. That is, people talk about what is your nationality. Ours, we aren't restricted to a nation. We don't have a national flag. We have a universal flag. The universe belongs to the black man because the black man is God. And our flag represents the flag of the universe, the sun, moon, and star. It also represents freedom, justice, and equality. The red background is the red of the sun. The moon is in its first quarter, Brother Rich, because the flag of Turkey in the old world and of Islam, its crescent moon was in the last quarter. Because the old Islam was phasing out. Nation of Islam represents the emergence of the new Islam. The son of Islam has arisen in the West. And so our moon is in the first quarter. It's the beginning of the cycle of the moon, whereas the older flag represents the end cycle of the moon, the end cycle of that Islam. And the star represents justice.
Indeed, excellent. Thanks for answering that question, my brother. So let's get to these black Muslim gods that I guess you're saying Neil Armstrong seen on the moon. Is that talk to me about that? What exactly happened? Because this sound, I need to hear this. What exactly is going on with that, Doc?
Yes, sir. And of course, we document this in our report. Apollo 11, of the 6 missions that went to the moon, and they did. We can talk about the whole concept of was the moon landing fake. We can talk about that. But of the 6 missions that went to the moon, the most consequential was Apollo 11. Commander Neil Armstrong, command module pilot Edwin Buzz Aldrin, or lunar pilot Buzz Aldrin, and command module pilot Michael Collins. When they, before getting to the moon, this is July 1969, before getting to the moon, the day before touchdown, Apollo 11 encountered the mothership and 2 baby planes. Now, as Maurice Chetelain, a former NASA technician, said, every Gemini and Apollo flight that went to the moon was escorted by so-called UFOs, every one of them.
Damn.
Apollo 11, on the eve of their touchdown, encountered the mothership, a long, huge, and from their angle, cylindrical craft, and 2 smaller craft. There are images that survived the NASA scrubbing that we have of the cylindrical mothership as well as a baby plane, so-called flying saucer. Now, on July 21st, the day the lunar module Eagle touched down on the lunar surface, it made contact in a particular crater, the Sea of Tranquility. We have it from the Soviet sources because this was televised worldwide, and the Soviets are a very important source, alternative source for what transpired on that day. According to the Soviet sources, the Eagle and its crew, Buzz and Neil, had to stay in the craft for hours before they can disembark out of fear because of the encounter the day before. When Neil Armstrong stepped out the craft and made the first step for the white man on the black man's moon, when he stepped off, he had his camera. Buzz Aldrin also filmed the proceedings. There were 2 UFOs hovering over the rim of the crater, the Sea of Tranquility crater. 2, the mother craft apparently was not there. I'm not clear if the mother craft was there, but most of the records say that when Neil stepped off of the Eagle lander steps and touched down on the moon, there were 2 craft hovering over the Sea of Tranquility crater. He indicated he saw shadowy beings associated with the craft. Now, we know from others, in particular, Dr. Norman Berggren, he saw pictures of these shadowy beings associated with the craft, and they weren't shadowy because they were in the dark. Dr. Berggren tells us they were black people, 7 feet tall, that were seen with these craft that Neil Armstrong and Buzz Aldrin saw and recorded. Final point. Why do you say black Muslim, Brother Wesley? Because the last time I was on your show, Brother Rich, I said that the last best kept secret of ufology is the Asiatic blackness of the pilots of these craft. That's the most guarded secret of ufology. I have to amend that a bit. The last and best kept secret is not just the blackness of these pilots, but that they are black and that they are Muslim. Neil Armstrong heard emanating from the craft, but let me be specific. He didn't hear it in the vacuum of the moon. He heard it as an interruption in the Capcom transmission, radio transmission between him and Houston. There was a Capcom interruption. And that interruption was a particular sound. He didn't recognize it at the time, but it was a very distinctive sound that was recorded by NASA. He never got an explanation of what it was that he was hearing on his radio unit that interrupted. When Apollo 11 returned to Earth, of course, all of the photographic and audio visual material was placed way above top secret. The CIA disallowed the astronauts, as all astronauts are forced to sign a secrecy agreement. They would lose their pension. They would go to jail. It's the usual threat that was to be a consequence of disclosing their encounters publicly. But the Apollo 11 astronauts were subjected to an even more severe silencing threat. Buzz Aldrin's family and Neil Armstrong's family tells us that the 2 of them were threatened, that their family would be killed if they revealed what they experienced. Neil Armstrong had a hard time negotiating what he knew what he experienced, negotiating that with the national security state's mandate that he be quiet. But I digress. When they got back to Earth, Neil Armstrong went on a tour speaking the authorized version of his experience on the moon. One of the places Neil Armstrong went was Cairo, Egypt. While in Cairo, Egypt, Neil Armstrong heard the Adhan, the Muslim call to prayer. Cairo, of course, is a Muslim. Egypt is a Muslim country. So every time it's time for prayer, you hear the Muslim call, the Adhan, ring throughout the country. Neil Armstrong heard it, and he recognized that sound as the sound he heard as an interruption on his radio transmitter. He remembered even some of the words. They sounded just like what he remembered when he was on the moon. He asked a companion who was in Cairo with him what that is. They told him it's the Muslim call to prayer. From that point on, we are told, Armstrong studied Islam. And eventually, some reports say he converted to Islam. But we have one more case, because this wasn't a isolated incident. One before Apollo 11, the flights, the communications between the craft and mission control was on several occasions interrupted by a transmission of an unidentified foreign language. Most spectacularly was Apollo 15. The command module pilot, Al Warden, when he was circling the moon as the other astronauts were on the surface, while he was orbiting the moon, he was in communication with mission control, and a foreign language interrupted his transmission. The foreign language, we have eight words from that interruption he leaked out to the public. And scientists have studied those 8 words and came to the conclusion that it was some Semitic related language. The 8 words that have been publicized consists of Hebrew, Aramaic, and Arabic words. But the phrase is unintelligible. The only recognized word in that phrase is Endeavor, which happens to be the name of the command module that Al Warden was piloting. So with Apollo 15, there was a interruption in the transmission with a Semitic related language giving a message to the pilots. And with Neil Armstrong and Apollo 11, it wasn't just a Semitic language, it was specifically the Arabic Muslim call to prayer. So those black gods, and I say gods because the astronauts themselves, Edgar Mitchell from Apollo 14 and John Irwin of Apollo 15, who was with Al Warden, they both described their encounter with a God presence on the moon. That God presence was those black, 7-foot-tall black people singing the Muslim call to prayer. Those are the black Muslim gods that Apollo 11 encountered on the moon in 1969.
That this mothership, you talked about the big mothership and two smaller ships. Is this mothership, is that last time we was talking about Farad Muhammad? Is this the mothership, Farad Muhammad's mothership that they
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. There is only one authentic mothership. Now, of course, America in the West, through their duplication programs, they produce what they produce. But the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad said that the enemy might be able to build a ship that looks like the mothership, but he cannot get it off the ground and in space as the authentic mothership can do. And so this is why these space encounters are even more important than earthly encounters of UFOs or the mothership, because in Earth's atmosphere, it's really at least a 50-50 chance that what you're seeing is the devils or gods at this point in 2023.
Right.
But space is still the realm of God. America has not produced the technology to go the places in space that the craft built by Master Fard Muhammad, that it can go. And so these space encounters of black extraterrestrials, Apollo 11 being only one example, but these space encounters of black extraterrestrials is very, very important, and I think definitive.
Why do you think they stopped trying to, if they went to the moon, like comedians used to say, man, if they went to the moon, they wouldn't have stopped trying to go back there. They would have been trying to get real estate out there. It would have been a nonstop effort to go there every year, every day, every month. They would have tried to colonize it.
And so I document the reasons why in our brief. The Apollo program in particular was planned all the way through Apollo 20. Neil Armstrong is on record as giving the reason. There was Apollo 11 through 17. But Neil Armstrong says, we, meaning him, we were warned off of the moon. Warned off of the moon. The Apollo program was shut down abruptly. After Apollo 11, the encounter with the black Muslim gods on the moon. Apollo 13 went to the moon equipped with a nuclear bomb. The U.S. intended to nuke those black Muslim gods on the moon.
Yeah.
Apollo, absolutely. Apollo 13 went or was sent to the moon with a nuke. Apollo 13 never made it to the lunar surface. Apollo 13 suffered an inexplicable oxygen tank explosion that disallowed it from being able to land on the moon surface. So it had to orbit indefinitely. It was incapable of returning to the Earth. According to NASA, former NASA technician Maurice Chatelain, and according to the Soviet sources, the reason Apollo 11, once it was disabled by a so-called UFO, this is what caused the oxygen tank explosion, disabling it from landing on the moon and delivering its nuclear payload. But in addition to that, the damage disallowed Apollo 13 from returning to Earth. It is only because the so-called UFO helped fix Apollo 13, allowing it to make it back to the Earth. Neil Armstrong tells us that NASA got the message that they were warned off of the moon. So, what Neil Armstrong said, they sent 14 and 15, but just to do a quick touch and leave. But Al Warden says, the other astronaut of Apollo 15, he was supposed to be commander of a crew that was to go to the moon. I believe it was either 18, 19, or 20. He was supposed to be, he's the one from Apollo 15 that received that Semitic language, unintelligible Semitic language interruption in his transmission. He tells us that he was supposed to lead a crew to land on the moon, but when NASA abruptly shut down the program, he said that it was because NASA feared that a crew that they sent will be killed.
Mm.
So the Apollo program ceased because the Black Muslim gods sent a strong message, and neither the Soviets nor the Americans dared penetrate that ring of fire. It was ultimately put around the lunar base, if you will. So yes, Neil Armstrong says we were warned off of the moon. That's why the Apollo program was abruptly halted.
What do you think about, well, we're in 2023 now, and I know earlier this year, India said they made history as the first country to land near the South Pole of the moon on August 23rd, 2023. And it also says in this article that China, I guess, went there in 2020. I don't even remember hearing that. But yeah, India made a big deal that they went to the moon this year. Landing on the South Pole of the moon. A space policy expert explains what this means in a global race to the moon. Yeah, did you hear about this? And if you did or didn't, what do you think about it? You think it's false, it's lies, it's true?
I heard a little bit about it. I don't have an opinion on it. I have no prima facie reason to say it's fake. I'm not just going to call something fake just by instinct. If I don't have facts that it's fake, then I leave it where it is. It is because the Americans who sent a mission to nuke, and let's be real clear, Apollo 13's mission was very specific. They were to deliver the warhead to the far side of the moon where former NASA employee Donna Harris, former NASA employee Kevin Wolf, and former NASA employee Penn Johnston, all of them confirmed NASA photos of structures on the dark side of the moon, suggesting that there is some base of operations. There's no inhabiting the moon. It's not livable. But this civilization can certainly put a operational base there. The evidence suggested that there is a base on the dark side of the moon, the very side that Apollo 13 was missioned to deliver its nuclear payload. So the Americans plan to nuke the Black Muslim gods on the moon. They were able to intercept and thwart that plan. So you can see why the Americans were totally disallowed from returning in any significant way to the moon. That doesn't say, I don't extrapolate from that the guardians of space, if you will, Allah and his angels, his scientists, I don't assume that every country is disallowed from touching down on that moon. I do not necessarily believe that to be the case. There's no reason. Come and see. Get a peek. The Quran mentions allowing the enemy to get a peek before he a peek into the heavens. Allah allowed America a peek into the heavens. America, as she does, exceeded her limits. So she was cut off. did Allah allow India and China and other nations? I would not. I'm not opposed to the idea that this is so.
Mm-hmm. Let me ask you this, Dr. Wesley Muhammad, because this is I done seen they done put this 15 times in the chat. You see this all over the internet. People are constantly saying that we live in a firmament, that you can't get beyond the firmament. You can't make it to the moon. You can't get to these planets. It's all an illusion, a projection. Space is fake. I mean, what they call the conspiracy theory community, and I'm using that, it's filled with a lot of misinformation, good information that has turned out to be true, but yet a lot of misinformation. So I want to know your thoughts on the whole firmament. We can't go out there. Space is fake. Talk that's out there floating around on the internet, my brother.
Yeah, I won't even dignify it with due respect. I won't dignify that talk.
Mm-hmm.
Space is fake.
Mm-hmm.
Let me say this. Everyone who knows me, I wrote thousands of pages and books on conspiracies. I'm a conspiracy buff. I love me a good conspiracy.
Right.
I'm not a conspiracy theorist. I'm a conspiracy documentarian. I don't like the conspiracy theorists that give conspiracy a bad name. I don't like that.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of this talk is in that category.
Right. Okay.
Flat Earth. I'm not going to dignify that ridiculousness. Space is fake. I'm not going to dignify that ridiculousness. What about Brother Wesley? What say you about the conspiracy theory that the moon landing is fake? Do you put that in a category? Let me say this. I would say to those persons, the moon landing deniers, I would say they are half right and that they are half wrong. They are half wrong because Apollo 11 did make it to the moon and touch down. There is too much third-party evidence to say otherwise. But the moon landing deniers are right because the moon landing as we have it has absolutely been faked. In 2006 or 7, NASA was forced to admit that NASA destroyed the original recordings and the original videos of the Apollo 11 moon landing. Now, this was this was America's most significant achievement, putting Americans on the moon. Yet NASA admitted that they destroyed all of the original records. And then when they destroyed the original audio-visual records of this most momentous event for them, NASA admits contracting Lori Digital, a Hollywood company. NASA contracted them to remake the NASA landing. Now, Lori Digital is famous because it produces for Hollywood. It produces its visuals for Hollywood. NASA admitted in an official statement that after destroying the Apollo 11 original data, they contracted Lori Digital to remake the landing. So it is the case that the material that we are witnessing, that NASA provides to us, is fake. It's a production. It is studio production. But NASA didn't fake the moon landing because the moon landing never happened. NASA faked the moon landing because the actual moon landing was an event that NASA never wants the world to know
Right.
what took place.
Wow.
So NASA destroyed the original records and reproduced the event. So in that sense, when moon landing deniers recognize the flaws in the flapping flag of American flag of Neil Armstrong, and there is no atmosphere on the moon. All of these discrepancies that the moon landing deniers point out in the official record, they are right. The official record is faked. Not because the moon landing never happened. It happened too high octane. It was too explosive a happening for the public to ever know.
Yeah, man, I ain't never heard it broken down like that, man. I'm gonna have to get that book tonight, Dr. Wesley. Yeah, I ain't hear it breaking down. Like, okay, all right.
WesleyMuhammad.com for the book, and for the report, $Dr. Wesley.
Where's King Simon? If you in the chat, post Dr. Wesley info again.
Shout out to brother King Simon.
Okay, here you go. Yeah, I'm gonna hit up Dr. Wesley's Cash App tonight. I gotta read some of his book. I gotta read this. He got me now. He got me, y'all. I'm interested. So I gotta read. Time go by quick when you're having fun. It's 46 minutes in already. I want to get to a couple of questions because I seen y'all posting some questions from Dr. Wesley Muhammad. Let me see. Let's just start with this one because a sister saying, what about the video of Armstrong with those children? He was asked if he had honestly been to the moon, and he admitted to the child he didn't. Said people need to know so they could keep trying. Is there any? I don't know about this.
Right. No, because it's wrong. It wasn't Neil Armstrong. It was Buzz Aldrin.
Okay.
Buzz Aldrin was asked by a child. Now, this is an example. I don't know this person, that Kesty Davis. This is not about you, dear sister. You honestly asked a question. This particular issue is an example of the poor quality of thought processing of the moon lander deniers, which give us conspiracy buffs a bad name. I'm a conspiracy buff. That was not Neil Armstrong. That was Buzz Aldrin. He was asked by a student, not why did we not go to the moon? And he said, because of money. She asked him, why didn't, after the success of the earlier missions, why did we not go back to the moon? The same question you asked earlier. Why didn't we return to the moon? The conversation was never about did we go to the moon? And Buzz Aldrin said we didn't go back to the moon because of money. Funding was cut. So that's an example of total either sloppiness or mischief making. And to my fellow conspiracy buffs out there, we have a hard time beating back the monkey, the conspiracy theorist monkey. Conspiracies are real. That's the modus operandi of the white man. He does everything via conspiracy because most of what he does is of evil. So conspiracies are real and we should sniff them out. The Honorable Brother Minister Farrakhan has been warning us. He has been and is the watchman on the wall. They condemn him as being a drum major for black conspiracy theory. He's never been that. He's been the watchman on the wall. He will alert us to the evil machinations of our enemy against us. So it is important that we expose these conspiracies, but we have to raise our level of credulity, raise the bar of credulity. We need to be more careful with our sourcing. So that never happened, that Neil Armstrong denied going to the moon. And in the actual quote, Buzz Aldrin did not deny that they went to the moon. He was asked why, he gave a reason why America never went back to the moon.
All right, let's get to another question. Wesley, let me see. Is it confirmed that the is it confirmed that the astronauts here alhamdulillah in space?
As we discussed,
That's
it is
yeah.
it is the evidence is absolutely strong. And I would say confirmed
Mhm,
that Apollo 11 heard the Muslim call to prayer
mhm.
while in space. And of course, the Muslim call to prayer, dear sister, if you never heard it, you can Google it and hear it
Mhm.
on YouTube. It's it's melodic, which is why, for example, Apollo 10, the mission that was tasked with going to the moon and doing a dress rehearsal for Apollo 11, they didn't land on the lunar surface, but they did everything else to dress rehearse what Apollo 11 would do. The Apollo 10 astronauts also said they were followed by UFO, and they said they heard outer space music, weird outer space music that
Wow.
interrupted air transmission. Why that's important is because the call to prayer is the Muslim call to
Mhm,
prayer. The adhan is real musical. It's real
mhm,
melodic.
mhm.
And alhamdulillah is part of the Muslim call to prayer, sister. So my answer would be to your question, yes.
Yeah, she said her ex from Afghanistan told her that. That's what she heard about that.
He told
Okay,
you right, dear sister.
indeed. All right. Somebody wants to know, Dr. Wesley, do you know if the Black Muslim gods have come down here on Earth or had telepathic contact with humans and life forms here on Earth?
The Black Muslim gods originate here on Earth.
Ooh.
They can go to space, but the pilots of these craft, which used to be called UFOs, but the US government has now retagged as unidentified aerial phenomenon. The pilots aren't extraterrestrials. They're not aliens. They are Black Muslim gods from Earth. These are human beings.
Ooh.
They are Black men and women, presumably, but they are from a civilization on Earth, but a civilization, a hidden civilization, hidden from the US government and the powers of this world.
Mhm.
But this technology is terrestrial in the sense that it was made here on Earth. It was made in or on the island of Nippon, Japan.
In Japan.
It originally took flight in 1929. So the Black Muslim gods, they can go with the technology of this mother ship or mother plane or the wheel. With that technology, these Black Muslim gods can go anywhere in the universe that they desire. However, they are born on Earth, they live on Earth, they are from a civilization, an Earth-based civilization, as the most honorable Elijah Muhammad teaches us.
Okay, let's get to this next question, Dr. Wesley Muhammad. Somebody's asking, what happened to the astronaut who had to rotate around the moon while they landed?
Which, because that's standard procedure for all of the landing missions.
Okay.
What are you asking in particular?
All right. Elaborate on that question, Amber. And I guess yeah.
Because, of course, with the crewed mission sent to land on the moon, the mission has 3 pilots, 2 of which would descend in a lander module. For example, in the case of Apollo 11, the 3 pilots were Commander Neil Armstrong, Command Module Pilot Michael Collins, and Lander Pilot Buzz Aldrin. Once the Commander Module got where it needed to be in space, the Lander Module descended to the lunar surface. Buzz Aldrin piloting it, and Neil Armstrong with him. So those 2 pilots landed on the lunar surface. While they are on the surface, the command module pilot, that was his task. He orbited the moon while the other astronauts were on the surface. That was the case with the other landing missions as well. So when you say what happened to the astronaut who had to rotate, that was the task of the command module pilot. It was his task to orbit the moon while the other pilots were on the surface.
All right, let's get to the next question. We got a couple of ones here. I just seen one that I want to ask. Okay. Why are the black Muslim gods not here on Earth? What is so special about the moon for them to take residence on it? So special about the moon, Dr. Wesley?
Right. They are here on Earth. They reside here on Earth. They do not reside on the moon. You cannot live on the moon. When the moon or the proto-lunar material was blasted from the Earth, all of the water that was on that part of the Earth fell back to the Earth. So the moon today, it has no water. Life can't exist for any long period of time on the moon, not without the technology and the contraption. So these black Muslim gods don't reside on the moon, but they can go to the moon whenever they want, as they can go to anywhere in the universe when they want. But they reside here on Earth. They are human beings. They are Muslims. They are black. They are black Muslims. You encounter black Muslims every day. You're encountering one right now. But there is a qualitative difference between me and them. These are gods, meaning these are human beings of a supreme order. I and you, Brother Rich, and all of us in the chat room, we are God by nature, but we are fallen gods. We are dead gods. We are fallen from that pedestal. The most honorable Elijah Muhammad put us on a course to reclaim our godship. The lifestyle that he prescribed and demands for us in the nation, it's a lifestyle that will resurrect the God in us. But the black Muslim gods of which we speak today on this show, they are living gods. They didn't fall. They didn't suffer the fall of them as you and I did, but they reside here on Earth. These are earthlings, in the most, to say it profanely, but to make the point, the base of operations is here on Earth. The gods are born on Earth because, I'm going to say this. This is the the nuance of the pre-Copernicus teaching of the church, the geocentric view of the church, that the church of the olden days thought the earth was the center of it all. Well, there's a sense in which the church was right. Not physically. The other solar bodies did not revolve around the earth. However, the most honorable Elijah Muhammad teaches us that it's the earth that is the home of God. The geocentric view is a true view because the highest civilization in the universe is based here on Earth. There is a black civilization on Mars. The so-called Sidonia complex is real. And NASA, former NASA scientists have now confirmed that that face or that black man isn't a natural artifact, and he exposed Carl Sagan for lying in his discussion about the Sidonia face. So there is a black civilization on Mars, a great civilization, but they are not superior to the black civilization on the earth. The most honorable Elijah Muhammad is up. We are the gods of earth are superior to the black gods of Mars. This is the base of God's operations. He can have a military base, an observation base on the moon or Mars or anywhere he wants. But these gods don't reside on the moon. They reside right here on earth with you and me.
Indeed. Let me ask you this, Dr. Wesley. So this explosion that happened with the moon, you said the water, it stayed here. It didn't go with the moon.
Right.
So the water that we have
currently is 3/4 covered with water.
And that's the moon's water. That's the moon's water right there.
Moon's water. That is correct.
So this is why the moon has this connection with this water.
That is correct. That is correct.
Wow. And we're 70% water and we drinking that water.
That is correct.
So we got a connection with the moon as well.
We absolutely do. There is no denying. There is no denying, dear brother Rich, the truth of not just as above, so below, but the intricate interconnectedness with us as human beings, as God. We do have an intimate interconnectedness with the universe and everything in it. There is no denying that. The problem comes when we take all these liberties in identifying those interconnections. And the main problem is following the white man's bastardization of ancient wisdom, right? And so we just have to be careful. You won't get from us a denial, us the Nation of Islam, a denial that man is connected with his creation. That's a black man's moon. I describe Neil Armstrong as the first white man to step on a black man's moon. That's our moon. We put it out there. We got some connection to it. We just don't want to, we just caution against the over speculation that is rampant in drawing these connections.
Okay. All right. They got a lot of questions tonight. We ain't gonna be able to get to all these questions. That we left Dr. Wesley's info. Let me put this up on the screen again. Make sure y'all get the book. Hit up his. I'm getting that tonight from Cash App. Make sure you'll get that. The research paper, should I say? $ Dr. Wesley, the brother, also IG at Wesley Muhammad. But let's get to a couple of more questions. But there's so many. I ain't gonna be able to get to all of them. But let's get to a couple of more questions before we get out of here. I wonder if this is true. Uh, Geeksta Skeet says, "What's the story about the black female astronaut that they found on the back of the moon with the ship? You've heard about this?"
Yeah, unfortunately, it was a fake.
Okay.
That
Okay.
was a fake Apollo 20.
Uh-huh.
That the moon lunar Mona Lisa is what
Mhm.
they tagged her.
Mhm.
It has come out in French filmmaker who faked the Mona Lisa production has admitted to it. Of course, the story is that Apollo 20 did happen, but it happened as a black project. It was off the books.
Mhm.
And Apollo 20 went up to the moon to retrieve this submarine looking craft that was photographed on the moon. When Apollo 20 landed, the astronauts searched the craft, the downed craft.
Mhm.
They found the body, which was supposedly videotaped. And when it was put up on YouTube in early 2000s, anonymously,
Mhm.
the people dubbed her with a beautiful brown skin and dreadlocks as a lunar Mona Lisa. However, the YouTube user was traced, and Speth, I believe is how you pronounce his name, the French filmmaker, excuse me, who admitted to that particular fakery.
Mhm.
Unfortunately, no, the Lunar Mona Lisa was a fake.
All right. Let's get to the next question from the Black Star Child. They want to know, how is the mothership in baby planes powered? Okay.
Now that's a $64,000 question, isn't it? That's what Ben Rich and those scientists at Lockheed Skunk Works, was tasked with figuring out. That's what Oppenheimer, the father, so-called father of the atomic bomb, that's what he too was tasked with trying to figure out. Werner von Braun, the German scientist, the Nazi that came over under Operation Paperclip, that's what he was tasked to find out. The government's duplication program, which has been in existence since 1933, but first in Italy, it came over here to the US in the 40s. The duplication program has been trying to figure out how they are powered. Now, Dr. Stephen Greer has his theory. He would say that the scientists cracked that secret. I am not convinced of that the scientists have totally cracked the secret of the propulsion of these craft. One thing that does seem clear is that somehow it's atomic in nature, that there's some atomic propulsion involved. And this fact helped, apparently, the German scientists crack the atom in 1938.
Mm-hmm.
And then that led to the American production of the atomic bomb. There is overwhelming evidence that that whole development resulted from the study of the so-called UFO that was retrieved by Italy in 1933. Some atomic secrets were extracted from that study, and those atomic secrets led to the 1938 splitting of the atom, and then in 1945, atomic bomb explosion.
All right, let's get to this next question, Dr. Wesley. William Casper wants to know, why did they build the craft in Japan?
Now, why is the ultimate question. I won't presume to be qualified to answer the why of the matter. I can offer this, though. The Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad, when he was questioned by the FBI in September of 1942, the FBI arrested the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad by executive order of President Franklin Roosevelt. The FBI arrested him twice, once in May 1942, the second time in September 1942. In the statement that the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad gave to the FBI in September of 1942, he says this, Brother William Casper. He says, the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad says that the blueprint for the mother wheel had been kept in the holy city Mecca for thousands of years. But at a certain point, the blueprint was delivered to Nippon, Japan. And once the blueprints were delivered in 1909, construction of this craft began. Now, of course, that doesn't answer the why of your question. Why Japan versus some other nation? I cannot answer the why of it. But it is a fact, as the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad teaches, that the blueprints were delivered from Mecca to Japan and construction began there.
All right. D Black ATL wants to know, is the moon hollow? That's another one I hear a lot on the internet, Dr. Wesley, that the moon is hollow.
And I've read on it. I don't know. It makes sense, but I can't say yes or no. The arguments, the Soviet arguments, I think the arguments I've read seem sound, but I'm not going, I can't declare that it's hollow or not. Now, given the origin of it, being that the moon originated as blast debris from Earth's Big Bang, from that explosion event, given that the moon originated as material torn from the mantle of the Earth, I can see the arguments of it being hollow. Now, those who write about a hollow moon describe the moon as having a not subterrestrial, I guess sublunar civilization inside of it, and the moon is a spaceship itself. I would not. I have no knowledge of that. I would never. Well, I'm not gonna say never. Certainly, I'm in no position to advance any such theories as that. So I don't know, dear brother or sister, if the moon is hollow. I've read arguments. I'm open to it, but I cannot pronounce on it. I don't know.
Okay. Well, Oliver wants to know, do the black gods live in the inner earth?
Well, they live on Earth now. Of course, there's a lot of discussion of a hollow Earth. There's discussion of the hidden cities of Shambhala and
right.
Also called Shangri-La. I also write extensively on the U.S. government under President Franklin Roosevelt. He spent what would today be $1,700,000 searching for Shambhala and the king of Shambhala, also called Rudra Chakran, the wrathful one with the wheel. The wheel is the mother planet. President Roosevelt's administration spent the equivalent today of nearly $2 million looking for the hidden city of Shambhala and its king. I have written on the hollow earth and the subterranean, the theories of the subterranean areas of our earth, where there seems to be evidence that there is at least these subterranean areas and they are populated and people come in and out. So now, inner earth theory goes much further than that. I am not, I cannot pronounce on any hollow earth. There is a civilization at the center of the earth, the most honorable Elijah Muhammad. I don't know of him ever affirming that. So I won't affirm that. I have no knowledge of that. I think, though, that there is good grounds to say that the rumors of subterranean enclaves, the subterranean spaces, the hidden cities, I think there's a lot of smoke there. I think there probably is some fire.
Next question. Where did it go? Okay. Will the black gods, this is from Sister Aaliyah Bay, will the black gods intervene if there is a nuke attempt to start World War III? I think she meant to put, World War III.
They already have. One, as we heard during the first UAP congressional hearing, and shout out to our dear brother, Congressman Andre Carson, who led that first UAP hearing of Congress. We heard the official acknowledgement that these craft pose a national security threat, and it is because these craft not only have concentrated their activity over the nuclear installations, not just of America, but across the world, but more importantly, and this is why they are a national security threat, or are considered, and they are. It is because these craft have shown their ability to not only disable all nuclear installations, but they have shown their ability to enable the nuclear installations, bring the nuclear weapons online. The Soviets had a big case that, what the writers say, was about to lead to World War III, because a UFO hovered over a key Russian nuclear facility, and it brought the nuclear bombs online with the code. And as the Russian military was scrambling, not knowing who's the source of this, let me take that back. They knew that it was a UFO, but what they feared was, because the Soviet Union is very learned, they've been studying these craft for decades. So they knew what it was, but the fear was that the UFO would send that nuclear weapon, and whoever received it would think it was Russia who sent that in World War III would commence. But right on time, that craft, then after enabling the warhead, then disabled it. These craft and the gods on them have shown their total mastery of the nuclear weapon systems of every country on the planet. So yes, they can intervene. They have intervened. Now, be clear. What is the purpose of these craft? The Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad told us and tells us that a battle or the battle in the sky is imminent. That battle in the sky. The Bible calls it the battle of Armageddon. The Honorable Brother Minister Farrakhan, Savior's Day, 2022, declared to the world that that war, to end all wars, the war of Armageddon, it has now begun. That war consists of these craft being operationalized in a military context. The weaponry, the nuclear weaponry of these nations, they feel secure in them, but they will not be able. The Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad said that the weapons are powerful enough to destroy the craft. They are. But the Most Honorable Elijah Muhammad says the devil will never be able to get to the craft to deploy its nuclear weapon against us or the God.
Let me ask you this, Dr. Wesley, and I think this probably be the last question. I might ask one more after this, but this is my question. If the U.S. government has seen evidence of these black gods, and you know there's black gods out there, whether it be the moon, I think the dude you talking about, what's the name of the dude that said he seen the 9-foot black aliens? Norman? Was that Norman?
Dr. Norman Berggren,
right?
7 foot.
7 foot.
Black. It was McClellan, astronaut McClellan, who saw 9-foot so-called extraterrestrials. They wasn't on the moon. It was, he saw them interacting with U.S. astronauts at one of the space stations. So astronaut or NASA scientist McClellan, who spoke of the 9-foot aliens. Dr. Norman Berggren spoke of the 7-foot black aliens. He saw so-called aliens, gods. They're not aliens. The white man is an alien in the universe.
So if all this evidence exists of these black gods in outer space, why it appears that it has not scared them at all in terms of how they treat the black man and woman on earth? If I was say I was oppressing white women with blue hair, then I seen these white women with blue hair gods in space, I'm gonna be like, oh shit, yo, we gotta be easy down here on earth. They got a whole crew out there. They disarming atomic bombs. They putting them online. We got to be easy. They haven't let 1 foot off our neck in the last since this has happened, Dr. Wesley. So if they encounter this, it's damn sure ain't scared them, Dr. Wesley. Talk to me about why is that the case?
I will be happy to. My dear brother Rich, you don't yet understand the mind and the nature of the white man. The white man thinks the exact opposite of what you described, because what you described is very rational. But the reason the white man has nuclear weaponry that can blow up the world 100 times over, well, you can only do that once. But he has enough material, weaponry, to destroy it 100 times over. His thinking is he thinks he can fight God and win. See, he is Icarus. He has that Icarus complex. The white man by nature is Icarus. His hubris makes him think he can fight God and win. This is why there is to be a battle in the sky, because the white man isn't just going to look at the evidence of God's superiority and lay down. Though the Honorable Brother Minister Farrakhan, in his message in the time and what must be done, he said to America, you need to tap out. The wise thing to do would be to tap out. God's man, the Honorable Brother Minister Farrakhan, is still here doing the work to raise the black man and woman of America to where we are supposed to be.
Hey, I'm definitely gonna I gotta get this these papers you wrote. It's very interesting. It's always interesting talking to you, Dr. Wesley Muhammad.
I always enjoy our conversations.
Indeed.
You have a wonderful audience that asks great questions.
Oh, it was great questions tonight. Yeah.
You have a brilliant mind, Brother Rich. And so I always enjoy our conversation. Leave
all your information one more time, brother, for anybody who want to get in touch with you. I know you got events coming up, so let everybody know about all of that.
I do. I will be, first let me shout out to our great sister, Sister Kufanya Ifa, out there in New York. We will be in New York. We're going to be in Greensboro, North Carolina, the weekend of November 12th. That weekend, the following weekend, the weekend of November 17th, 18th, and 19th, we'll be in New York. We're going to be at, Allah willing, Muhammad Mosque number 7 on Sunday. We're going to be in Queens on Friday. On Saturday, we're going to be in Brooklyn at Nicholas Brooklyn. The address 1396 14th Street at Nicholas Brooklyn. That's on Saturday, November 18th.
18th, yeah. 18th.
We're going to discuss the assault on the black man and black masculinity, the assault on our youth, the pot plot. We have a lot to discuss. I can be reached. So join us in Greensboro, North Carolina, November 12th, that weekend. And then join us in New York, Queens, Brooklyn, and Harlem the following weekend, 17th through the 19th. You can, you can access or avail yourself to this brief, Black Muslim Gods on the Moon, NASA's Darkest Secret. Again, send $10 Cash App, $ Dr. Wesley, or PayPal, Wesley Muhammad, Dr. Wesley Muhammad at gmail.com. I can be accessed on my website, www.wesleymuhammad.com, and on IG, Wesley Muhammad, YouTube, Wesley Muhammad, TikTok, and Facebook, Wesley Muhammad.
Indeed. And with that being said, I want to thank everybody for tuning in tonight. This is Brother Rich, and with Dr. Student Minister, Dr. Wesley Muhammad. I'm gonna go grab that book what is it? It's officially called, it's research papers.
Yeah.
30.
I'm calling them, I call them briefs.
Okay.
Because of course I write 800-page books.
Right. Yeah. Woo.
The first brief that we put out, the Oppenheimer brief, Oppenheimer, the atomic bomb, and the mother wheel. This is a 68-page report. We called it, it's a 38-page report.
Right.
We called it a brief. So these are reports, they are briefs.
Okay.
Because 40 pages for me is brief.
Indeed, indeed.
my,
Man.
my average report is longer than this, but each one of these are 40 pages, but they're concentrated. And all three of the briefs that we've released so far can be accessed the same way, Cash App and PayPal.
All right. Excellent, excellent. All right, family. Well, this is Brother Rich, Dr. Wesley Muhammad. We signing out, family. Have a good night. Peace. Peace, Dr.
Peace.
Wesley.
Peace.
All right.